Hey everyone, welcome back to Trucking with Scar. I'd like to just take a minute and catch up with y'all for a few minutes. But before we do that, I was wondering if you'd be so kind as to hit that like and subscribe button if I'm doing any good. Maybe leave some comments on some things that you'd like me to talk about, some things you'd like to know about the trucking industry, or heck, you just think it'd be funny to hear me talk about it. Uh, but While I'm waiting on those comments, I'll just keep coming up with whatever's on my mind because, I got plenty of time to think. And there's been something weighing on me these past couple days that I don't think the rest of the world really knows about. And that's this so called appreciation for truckers. Now, I ain't calling anybody out. I, uh, I do believe that there are people out there that truly, honestly do appreciate what I do out here as a trucker. But the it's gotten to a point now, especially after this year of the the Wuhan flu. That's right, I believe it was the Wuhan flu. Uh, the Hearing people say that we appreciate you truckers has become a lot of lip service. Because if anything, over this last year, it's become nothing but harder for us truckers. And you know, as cities open up, as people are getting back to work, I honestly believe a lot of four wheelers, A, forgot how to drive, and B, just reinforce the idea that the the vast majority of people actually just don't like us trucks being on the road. And I got news for you. If you don't like us trucks being on the road, you might as well just go ahead and quit buying shit. Because the more you buy, the more trucks are on the road. Because if everyone was to, if all the truckers were to stop moving for 4 days, just 4 days, it would shut down, and uh, every city, town, you name it, it would just be shut down. Now, you little farming communities, places that's got it's still a community and everyone works together, yeah, you'll make it. And, but the cities, all the stuff that you can't grow or kill yourself that you like having, it just stopped coming. And it'd take about 4 days for your local grocery store to be empty. If you think the toilet paper shortage was bad, you ain't seen nothing if all the trucks in the United States were to shut down. But I digress. The the other parts that kind of make that truckers being appreciated feel like lip service is the toilet situation out here on the road. That's right, I said toilet. It is getting harder and harder to find a toilet to use. Now, a lot of your big truck stops are staying open and are actually doing a great job of cleaning toilets. I haven't seen toilets before this as clean in the major truck stops as what they're typically kept now. Your Loves, Flying J, they're doing their cleanings up all the time. Loves, I think, cleans it every 15 to 30 minutes. They got someone in there cleaning down the bathroom. Most your flying pilots and flying J's, I think, are pretty close to that, about every 30 minutes to an hour. TA, yeah, well, I've seen people in there clean them, and I can't really say that there's a whole lot of TAs that the toilets are too awful nasty in. But in a lot of states, they've shut down all the rest areas. Now they've gone ahead and kept the parking for truckers open, but a lot of rest areas, the buildings are all closed. Now us truckers rely on those parking areas for a place to sleep because there's a massive parking shortage, especially where I'm at now. I'm up in the Northeast. I'm currently up in Bridport, Vermont. I started my day up in Maine about 2 o'clock this morning, and whenever I tell you it was cold, it was cold. I think whenever I got on the road, it was about 7 degrees outside. There's about a 25-mile-an-hour wind, and I debated pretty heavily on calling my dispatcher and telling them I wasn't going to make it just because of the winds. Not to count the fact that it was cold. Right now, it's only 18 degrees. The winds have died down. Skies are all clear and shiny. But 18 degrees is still cold. But yet, most of these states decide they want to close the toilets to us truckers in the places we pull over and go to sleep. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to go to the bathroom typically just before bed. I like to go typically again just before, right when I get up. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, I've got ways to take care of myself in this truck. If whenever I need to go, I go. It don't matter if I've got a bathroom or not. Those of you who remember me from my time living in the woods and working in the wilderness know that I can go to the bathroom just about anywhere and in just about any condition. But it don't change the fact that it's still cold out. Now, beyond rest areas being shut down, most of the shippers and receivers also have closed their toilets to us. Now, these are places that have indoor toilets, and they have lots of people working at them. So there's groups of people using the toilets anyways. But they're afraid us truckers might have the Wuhan flu, good old COVID. They're afraid our sickness might get them all sick. I got news for you. I'm more isolated in this truck than anybody working at a factory. Even though I go all over the U.S., my possibility of catching it is probably drastically reduced comparative to, I'd say, 90% of humanity right now, just because the fact I am always isolated. But yet I digress. But like at the shipper that I picked up from, this place was about 30 miles north of the Vermont teddy bear factory. So if you want to figure out where that's at, why don't you go ahead and look up the Vermont Teddy Bear Factory? No, they're not sponsor of me. I just like that place. I've been to that factory. It's pretty cool. Something cool to go look at. Well, this place wouldn't let the place I picked up this load at. It wouldn't let me use their bathroom. Now I'd already been on the road for a little over 5 hours by the time I got to the shipper. You know, after 5 hours, you need to go. Luckily, I was able to use my bottle. I wasn't having to pop a squat, but I got a bucket if I need to. But at that shipper, the sun was just coming up. I think it was about 10 or 12 degrees at that shipper whenever I was there. And they wouldn't let me come inside, said I had to use the porta john. You know, I ain't got nothing against porta johns. They've got their time and place. But outside of a building that has working toilets and sinks I can wash my hands in, that gets irritating. But every single shipper and receiver I seem to go to, with the exception of a rare few, and I mean very rare few, have them porta johns out and think that's supposed to be safer for keeping the COVID, the good old Wuhan virus, from spreading. Yet they only clean those porta johns about once every 2 to 3 weeks, if you're lucky. And depending on how big the shipper and receiver is, there could be hundreds of trucks going through there a day. Like, let's take good old Wally World. Good old Wally World, it's not uncommon for them to have 40 or 50 trucks coming through at the same time, all with the exact same appointment time. And then you got to take on to account of how long we're there. Well, you know, I've said it on a video before. When I'm lucky, they'll unload me in 1 to 2 hours. But my typical wait time is 3 to 4 hours, and it's not uncommon for me to wait long enough to do a 34-hour reset. Now, would you feel like you are being appreciated if you had to go use a porta john outside the door of the that leads to an actual toilet? Yeah, that's what I thought. What about if you were told that you could be somewhere and get something done at a certain time? Well, actually, I can compare this to you. How do you like going to the doctor, being told by the doctor, "Hey, we need you to show up 30 minutes before your appointment time so you can fill out this paperwork." And then you show up, you fill out your paperwork, you sit down hoping to see the doctor on time for your appointment. Hour, 2, 3 hours rolls by. Your appointment's already gone by. Now, I ain't saying nothing bad about doctors. I love them, but it gets really tiring sitting there waiting whenever you've had an appointment, right? Well, now try doing that every day. Kind of the running joke in truckers is you hurry up and wait, because by God, they have a window of time they want you at the shippers and receivers. You better not be 1 minute late, and you better not show up more than an hour early. That's what they tell me. I can be at any shipper and receiver 1 hour before my appointment, but I better not show up more than 1 minute late. Well, yeah. After a while, you start to wonder what kind of tricks these people are playing, trying to keep from having to pay you too. It's like I get detention pay. Detention is pay that I get whenever, for the time I spend sitting and waiting after 2 hours after my appointment time. Well, 2 hours after my appointment time, considering I typically get there an hour early, means I'm sitting there for 3 hours for free. Then you've got appointment times like what a lot of meat factories do. At a lot of meat factories, they seem to want to set up these windows of time to keep themselves from having to pay anything, but the driver still has to wait. Like the load I had before this one, the pickup window was 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, that means I'm that load I was actually up and ready to roll at 8 a.m. But it wasn't available to me. It it wasn't available to me until uh, 2 hours after 3 o'clock. Why in the world would you tell somebody show up anytime between 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock to pick up your load if you ain't going to have it ready between 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock? Well, that might not sound like a big deal, but that's at almost every shipper and receiver I go to. And that cuts into how I run my day. Like I told you, I was up at 8 o'clock. Load wasn't ready till 5 o'clock in the evening. That means I still had to run my entire run that night. And I went and had to find me a place to sleep at the worst possible time of night. 2 o'clock in the morning is absolutely horrendous for trying to find parking, especially up here in the Northeast. Up here in the Northeast, not only do they have a lot of their rest areas shut down and blocked off, they don't even have, they got the ramps shut totally blocked off, so you can't pull in and park on the empty pavement. But the truck stops are few and far between, and most of them only hold 15, 20 trucks at a time, if you're lucky. There aren't very many big truck stops up here. So if I'm having to wait all this time around appointment times, what part of appreciating the truckers is that? Because it never fails that at one of these shippers and pretty much all the shippers and receivers since all this Wuhan virus started up, they've got signs up all over the place. We appreciate our drivers. Thank you, drivers. Yeah, well, they got a funny way of making us feel feeling appreciated. Having to sit and wait for hours to get loaded or unloaded. Having to sit for hours waiting on a load that should have already been ready for us when we got there. Setting appointment times and not even bothering with whether or not they're even going to get you in a door for your appointment time. That's just all too common out here in the world of trucking. So please keep in mind that, yeah, I believe most of the people who are taking the time to watch my videos are appreciative of drivers, but I'm willing to bet you got a friend or seven that don't really realize what's going on out here in the world of trucking. They just get upset that truck's taking too long to speed up, or slowing down way too early for what they think the truck needs to slow down for, or taking way too long to make that turn or back into that parking lot. It's for all those people that I'm trying to let you know that, nah, I don't believe they appreciate us truckers. Nah, I believe that appreciate truck that whenever I see a sign, "Thank you, truckers," and most places, it's lip service. Well, I'll get on off my soapbox. I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful day. I hope it's good and warm where you're at, 'cause up here in the Northeast, it ain't. And if you got a loved ones there with you, give them a hug, give them a kiss. Let them know how much you appreciate them. And remember, this is Trucking with Scar. Hit that like and subscribe. Keep her between the mayo and the mustard, and keep your shiny side up.